What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Julien, Stoutt, licensed personal trainer, licensed PE teacher, world record powerlifter, here to take the fear out of fitness. We're about to take off. Classes in session. Here's the deal. When you're training, one of the biggest things that I have broken down to you is you need a map. You need a map. And you need to be mean. So these are the basics. These are the basic foundations to how I approach every form of training that I go through. So we're going to start with being mean. A lot of people want to know what does mean actually mean. Well, while on one level the acronym could describe your mindset into how it is that you're going to go about doing this training, you got to have a mild level of anger in you, a mild level of aggression in the way you're thinking when you're pushing yourself to challenge your body to be better than where it is. Like, for instance, I have to be smart, but I still have to be aggressive when I train. So when I train, I focus on my mindset. Where's my mind at? Do I want to do this? Sometimes not. But guess what I make myself do? I change my mindset and I make myself go. The second thing I focus on is encouragement. Where is my encouragement coming from? Who's encouraging me to keep going? What is encouraging me to keep going? It's not necessarily always a person. It might be a goal of mine. It might be something that I'm trying to achieve that helps encourage me to get there. Accountability. Who's calling me out when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do? If they see that I'm not making any gains, if they see that I'm getting weaker instead of getting stronger, if they see that I'm getting slower instead of faster, if they see that I cannot push myself as long as I used to be able to, who's going to call me out and tell me you're falling off? Get back on the horse and keep riding. Last but not least, where's my nutrition? Am I eating a bunch of garbage, i.e. the holidays, or am I focused and grinding and eating the way I'm supposed to eat in order to get the body that I know I can achieve through discipline and hard work? Okay? That's the mean part. The other part is your map. That is your method, your attack, and your program. When you are trying to perform, you have to have a method of how you train. And the method is something that I'm going to focus on today. The attack is, how are you going to go about dealing with this? How are you going to attack this problem? How hard are you going to go? And then last but not least, the program. What is the systematic order on how you're going to go about achieving what it is you wish to achieve? But today, specifically, I want to focus on the method. Now, I'm sure I've shown you many videos where you see people doing the absolute most, crazy, jumping up and down, pulling themselves up and letting go of the bar, and all this crazy show off stuff, right? That's all well and good. It's nice. However, from the late great Kobe Bryant, I'm going to show you something else. And this is going to be the testimony of someone else in order for you to understand how this whole thing works.
Kobe taught me a pivotal and, for me, a life-changing lesson that morning, and that's just because something is basic, it doesn't mean that it's easy. In 2007, Nike flew me out to Los Angeles to work the first ever Kobe Bryant Skills Academy. So Nike decided they were going to take the best high school and college players from around the country, and they were going to run a 3-day mini camp with the best player in the world. And for anyone that's listening that does follow basketball, you have to appreciate, in 2007, Kobe was that dude. I had always heard this urban...
First of all, in 2007, Kobe was that dude. Kobe had just dropped 81 the year prior, which is the second most points in NBA history. This is not some small feat, by the way. This is incredible. And as a matter of fact, the rumor is he could have went for 100. Phil Jackson pulled him. I don't know how true that is, but this is comments from NBA players who actually interacted with Phil Jackson and asked the question, and that's what he said. Some records are not meant to be broken. And so if you don't know Kobe Bryant, let me tell you something. That man was a monster on the basketball court.
Of how insanely intense Kobe's individual workouts were. Well, I figured now that I was on camp staff, this was my chance. This was my shot. So I went up to him at my first opportunity and asked if I could watch one. And he was so gracious and said, "Sure, man, I'm going tomorrow at 4." And I got a little bit confused because the nerd that I was had just got done looking through the camp schedule, which said the first workout with the kids was the next day at 3:30. Well, he clarified that with a wink and said 4 a.m. There's not a legitimate excuse in the world on why you...
Kobe was known to train early in the morning, again in the afternoon, and again before a game, depending on what time the game was. Kobe was relentless. Kobe would just go to work. And he'd say, I could get more done if I do what I'm doing from 4 to 6. I'm already ahead of the competition. And if I do that every day for a year, in 2 years' time, there's nobody that's going to be able to catch up with me, because I'm going to be so far beyond my competitors. They'll never catch up to me, even if they attempted to try to work as hard as I do at that time. Brilliant.
Can't be somewhere at 4 in the morning, especially not an excuse that Kobe Bryant is going to take. If you guys told me that the only time you had to record today was at 4 a.m., I would be here. No questions, because the opportunity is much more important to me than the one morning of getting some extra sleep. So once Kobe said 4 a.m. and he'd already given me an invite, I basically committed myself to being there. There's no backing out at that point. And
the word that you might have missed is commitment. Are you committed to what it is that you're trying to do? Are you committed to what it is that you're about to do? Is this a part of your method? Is it a part of your mindset? These are the M's of the mean map. All right?
If I was going to be there anyway, I might as well try and impress him. I might as well try and leave my mark. So I come up with the genius plan to beat him to the gym. So I set my alarm for 3 a.m. The alarm goes off, I quickly get myself together, and I hop in a taxi, and I go to the gym. And I step out of the cab. Now it's 3:30 in the morning. It is pitch black outside. And yet from the parking lot, I can see that the gym light is already on. I can even hear a ball bouncing and sneakers squeaking. He had foiled my plan to beat him to the gym. I walk in the side door. Kobe's already in a full sweat. He was going through an intense warm-up before his scheduled workout started with his trainer at 4. Now, out of professional courtesy, and just because I was thankful to be there, I didn't say anything to him, and I didn't say anything to his trainer. I just sat down to watch. And for the first 45 minutes, I was actually shocked. For the first 45 minutes, I watched the best player in the world do the most basic footwork and offensive moves.
That is the part that I want y'all to get hold of. 45 minutes. He worked on basic movements. He didn't work on some fancy crossover, some fancy spin move. He didn't work on some fancy way to dunk. He didn't work on some, ridiculous trick shot. He worked on the basis, on the basics. And one of the most important things that people have to now realize is, if you are not obsessed with the basics, you'll never be good at anything. You're too focused on trying to make the pretty play, trying to make the pretty move, trying to look pretty in general. And guess what? Start with the basics. This goes with anything. Your hygiene. You're more worried about your fit than you are worried about, are you clean? You don't know how many times I've come across people who are dressed down to the nines but smell like outdoor. How does that work? It's not going to work. So here's the trick. Don't fall for the pretty, shiny object. Focus on what is real. Instead of worrying about how amazing this guy can do clap push-ups, push himself off the ground and do clap push-ups behind his front and his back, we'll focus on the push-up. Instead of worrying about jumping super high off the ground, why don't you master the art of jumping in general? And then make it harder as you go, but focus on the landing. Focus on how you're actually contracting your calf muscles to actually jump, instead of just making it and trying to make it look cute, trying to do some pirouette in midair and then landing on the box. Why don't you just learn on master jumping on the box? If you're a basketball player, instead of worried about how to do a no-look pass, why don't you focus on working on passing? So that way it's no longer a thought. If you're worried about your math work, stop worrying about trigonometry and calculus. Master the art of calculating. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Master that. Master it. And then every day, before you do your real work, just do a little bit of multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And just keep doing it, and keep doing it, and keep doing it. Now, I'm telling you this because when I was a kid, my aunt used to literally traumatize me by literally snapping her fingers and asking me multiplication questions. And when I couldn't answer them, I would cry because I knew what was coming. And the thing that was coming was, work on your multiplication tables. You don't know them. Well, guess what? Because of that hard work, that constant challenging, and the constant of making me sit down and do it, I can multiply in my head from 1 to 12 with no trouble whatsoever. Okay? And now I'm challenging my students to do the same thing. And the results are already starting to show up. We're only into subtraction, but because I'm teaching them these new techniques and making them work on the basics, it's already starting to show results. So guys, when it comes down to what I've learned and what inspired me from Kobe is to work on the basics. Now, you've seen me with a barbell on my back doing step-ups with a band on it, but what am I doing? I'm doing step-ups. I'm not doing some crazy exercise. It's basically a lunge with bands. That's all it is. I'm not doing anything spectacular, but I assure you, I will be stronger. I will be faster. I will be more explosive by doing these things, these basic movements. Okay? But I digress. Let's keep going.
Kobe was doing stuff that I had routinely taught to middle school age players. Now, this is Kobe Bryant we're talking about. This is the Black Mamba. So he was doing everything at an unparalleled level of effort and with unparalleled focus. And he was doing everything with surgical precision. But the actual stuff he was doing was very, very basic. Now, the whole workout lasted a couple hours. When it was over again, I didn't say anything to him. I didn't say anything to his trainer. I just quietly left. But man, my curiosity got the best of me. I had to know. So later that day at camp, I went up to him again and said, Kobe, I don't understand. You're the best player in the world. Why are you doing such basic drills? And again, he was incredibly gracious and he smiled, but he said with all seriousness, why do you think I'm the best player in the world? Because I never get bored with the basics. I never get bored with the basics. Kobe taught me a pivotal and for me a life-changing lesson that morning, and that's just because something is basic, it doesn't mean that it's easy. If it was easy, everyone else would be doing it. But as you all know, we live in a world that tells us it's okay to skip steps, that tells us it's okay to circumvent the process, that all but pushes us, especially on social media, to chase what's hot and what's flashy and what's sexy and just ignore what's basic. Just because it's basic, it doesn't mean that it's easy. And the basics work. They always have and they always will. That will never change. So the key to us improving our performance in any area of our life is identifying what those basics are, what those fundamentals are, and being relentlessly committed to performing them with consistency. And that's hard because, as you all know, the basics are usually boring. They're mundane, they're monotonous. You know, we all want to chase what's flashy and what's sexy, but the basics is where the gold is. And the highest performers I've ever been around in basketball or business have found a way to fall in love with the basics and make them a part of their daily routine.
I'm gonna land this plane because there's no more that needs to be said in commenting on what he said. But I'm gonna land this plane to get you to see things the way I see it. If you focus on your mindset and you focus on your method, you will now have your means of attack, and then you will create your program. Now, over the course of the last 11 months, I have been through a lot. I have dug into my hip. I had to rebuild my leg strength back up to balance that on my right side. It's still not 100% in terms of performance. Is it 100% in terms of pain free? Oh yeah, without a doubt. But performance wise, I'm not at 100%. And I knew that I wouldn't be at 100% immediately after I've been completely cleared for from my surgery. However, I started to notice all those basic movements that I took for granted were hard now. I couldn't squat. I couldn't leg press as much. I couldn't deadlift as much. Even my strength started to suffer. Never mind my cardiovascular. All of those things have dramatically decreased. But make no mistake about it. All I have to do, and all I have been doing to achieve the level of success that I have achieved, that you have witnessed me achieve here on YouTube and on Facebook and on Instagram, is doing the basics. You have not seen me do anything obscenely crazy. Push-ups, sit-ups, bench press, squat, deadlift, lat pull downs, rows, shoulder flies, shoulder presses, curls, tricep extensions. Nothing that you haven't seen anybody else do that you've seen me do. I haven't done anything different, except I don't get bored with the basics. Right now I'm on an upper and lower body split with different levels of cardio in between. One day I sprint, the other day I walk for long distance, the other day I jog for a relatively short distance, but at the end of the day, I'm building up where I left off. And when I have achieved my full capabilities, you'll see that I am the athlete that I've always been. Kobe Bryant was the best in the world at what he did. I am the best in the world at what I do. I am a world record powerlifter. I've broken the world record, held it for 3 years, then broke it again, and now it's been another 2 years since I broke it, come in the middle of March. So I've held this record for over 6 years. Okay? Actually, we're going on 7 years I've personally held the record. So I want you guys to understand the getting up is the hard part. The going to the gym is the hard part. Your routine must be mastered. And when you have that, that is when you will definitely be the best you. Guys, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to me. I appreciate you taking my advice. If you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to comment below. If you have any comments, feel free to comment below. I enjoy interacting with you on a day-to-day basis. Some of you want to get a little smarty with me. I can cut you down to size real quick. But for those of y'all who are genuinely wanting to know things, and if you are genuinely want to interact with me on an honest one-to-one basis, feel free to comment, and I will be more than happy to respond to your questions and comments as well. So, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you can get all the information that I put out. Have a nice day. Be the best you. Class of Stoutt.